The morning sun cast long shadows across the boarding school's cobblestone path as one adjusted the straps on his backpack. At 17, he'd grown accustomed to the routine. Wake at dawn, grab breakfast, and make the 20-minute walk to the academy entrance where Annabelle would be waiting. She sat in her mobility chair near the dormitory entrance, her crystalline blue skin shimmering faintly in the early light. The Valkyrie girl's legs, twisted and weak from a rare genetic condition, dangled uselessly beneath her uniform. Her large, opalescent eyes brightened when she saw one approaching. "You're late," Annabelle said, her voice carrying that melodic quality common to her species. 2 minutes. One grinned, moving behind her chair. The protein dispenser was acting up again. The chair's anti-gravity system had malfunctioned 3 months ago. Replacement parts for Valkyrie technology were expensive, even at the prestigious Terran Alien Integration Academy. Rather than wait for the bureaucratic procurement process, one had simply started carrying her. He crouched down, and Annabelle wrapped her slender arms around his neck. She weighed almost nothing. Valkyrie bone density was a fraction of human standard, but one had still built considerable muscle over the months. He lifted her easily, her body fitting naturally against his back. One day, Annabelle murmured as they started walking, "You're going to realize how absurd this is. A human carrying an alien to class every day." One day, one countered, "You're going to realize that friends don't keep score." They passed other students, various species from across the Galactic Coalition. A few Thrin 11 with their multiple limbs glanced over curiously. A group of Corthan exchange students whispered among themselves. One had grown immune to the stares. The academy itself was a masterpiece of interspecies architecture, blending human classical design with alien aesthetics. Towering spires stretched toward the sky, while bioluminescent gardens sprawled across the grounds. It represented everything the Coalition stood for: unity through diversity, strength through cooperation. "Did you finish the quantum mechanics assignment?" Annabelle asked as they climbed the stairs to the science wing. The lift was broken again. "Barely. Your people's mathematics makes my brain hurt." "Your people's stubbornness makes my brain hurt," she retorted, but there was warmth in her voice. "You could have asked for help. Where's the fun in that?" They reached their classroom just as the first bell chimed. One gently set Annabelle in her seat before collapsing into his own beside her. Professor Zinthor, an elderly Valkyrie with silver-tinged skin, nodded approvingly at them. "Punctual as always, Mr. Wan." "Miss Annabelle." His translator rendered his whistling speech into perfect standard. The morning passed in a blur of lectures on gravitational harmonics and subspace theory. During lunch, one carried Annabelle to the cafeteria, where they met their small group of friends, a Thrin 11 named Click Whisper and a human girl called Maria. "Did you hear?" Maria said excitedly as they sat down. "The Empress is visiting the academy next week." The Valkyrie Empress herself. Annabelle's grip on her utensil tightened almost imperceptibly. One noticed, but said nothing. "Big deal," Click Whisper chittered. "Probably just a political tour. The Valkyrie own half the galaxy's resources. She's probably checking her investments." "Show some respect," Maria chided. "The Empress personally funds this academy. Without her, most of us couldn't afford to be here." One glanced at Annabelle, who had gone very quiet. Her crystalline skin seemed to lose some of its luster. "You okay?" he asked softly. "Fine," she whispered. "Just tired." That afternoon, as one carried her back to the dormitories, Annabelle spoke suddenly. "Why do you do this, Juan?" "Really?" He considered the question. "Because you needed help. Because you're my friend. Do I need a better reason?" Most humans would have complained, would have expected something in return. "My species is wealthy beyond your comprehension. You could have asked for credits, for favors, for—" "I don't want your money, Annabelle." "I know," she said quietly. "That's what I don't understand. Humans are supposed to be opportunistic, self-interested. That's what everyone says." One laughed. "And Valkyrie are supposed to be cold and calculating. But you cried when we read that poem about the dying star in literature class." She pinched his shoulder. "That was beautiful poetry. It would have moved anyone." "My point exactly. Species stereotypes are garbage." They reached her dormitory as the evening lights began to glow. One set her down carefully in the common room, making sure she was steady before stepping back. "Juan," Annabelle said, catching his hand. Her eyes swirled with colors he'd learned meant deep emotion. "When the Empress visits, things might change. I want you to know that our friendship, it's the most real thing in my life." He squeezed her hand gently. "Nothing's going to change, Annie. I promise." The day of the Empress's visit arrived with unprecedented fanfare. The entire academy assembled in the grand courtyard. Juan stood with Annabelle near the back, having carried her down despite her protests that she could use a temporary chair. The Empress's ship descended like a falling star, elegant, powerful, impossible to ignore. When the ramp lowered, a figure emerged that made Juan's breath catch. She looked exactly like Annabelle. The same crystalline skin, the same opalescent eyes, but taller, regal, moving with the fluid grace of someone born to command galaxies. Empress Velana surveyed the assembled students, and her gaze found Annabelle immediately. Something passed between them, a conversation and glances that one couldn't interpret. The Empress gave her speech about unity and education, about investment in the future. But one barely heard it. He was too busy watching Annabelle, whose skin had gone nearly transparent with what he now recognized as fear. After the ceremony, as students dispersed, Imperial guards approached. One instinctively stepped in front of Annabelle. "It's okay," she whispered. "Juan, it's okay." The Empress herself walked over, her entourage keeping a respectful distance. Up close, the resemblance was undeniable. "Mother," Annabelle said quietly. To Juan's world tilted. The Empress studied him with ancient eyes. "So you're the human boy, the one who carries my daughter every day?" Yes, Your Majesty." "Do you know who she is?" "She's Annabelle. She's my friend." Something flickered across the Empress's face. Not Princess Annabelle. Not the heir to the Valkyrie Empire. Just Annabelle. Just Annabelle, Juan confirmed, his voice steadier now. The Empress was silent for a long moment. Then, impossibly, she smiled. "I sent her here in disguise to learn about other species, to understand the galaxy she would one day help govern. I expected her to network with the wealthy, to build political connections." She looked at her daughter with something like wonder. Instead, she found a human boy who asks for nothing, who gives everything, who sees a person, not a princess. The Empress placed a hand on Juan's shoulder. "The galaxy is vast, young human. But kindness without agenda? That is the rarest resource of all." Juan felt Annabelle's hand slip into his. "Your species," the Empress continued, "is still young, still learning. But if this is what humanity can be," she smiled fully now, "perhaps we all have much to learn from you." As the Empress departed, Annabelle leaned against Juan's shoulder. "I should have told you. Would it have changed anything?" "No," she admitted. "I suppose it wouldn't have." "Then it doesn't matter." Juan crouched down. "Come on, Your Highness. I'll carry you to dinner." Annabelle laughed, a sound like crystal chimes, and wrapped her arms around his neck. As they walked across the courtyard, the boy who carried galaxies without knowing it, and the princess who'd finally found something real, neither of them noticed the stars beginning to shine overhead. Tomorrow, one would carry her again. And the day after that, not because she was a princess, but because she was Annabelle, and that was enough.